let's dive in. Welcome everybody to the Agile Austin Coaching Meetup. In case folks aren't familiar with Agile Austin, this is the mission: connect people and foster professional growth through collaborative events, which educate our community on uncovering better ways to deliver value through Agile values, principles, and practices. Let's see here. Sponsorship, always looking for sponsors. If you're interested, please let us know. The contact information is right there, contact@agileaustin.org. And then if you're interested in being a member, the membership fee yearly is $35. Benefits include access to Slack, lots of folks in the Slack channel, great place to be. You can vote and sit on the board, and then special events and training discounts. And go to the new fancy website, agileaustin.org. It got a beautiful facelift. It looks so great. Sometimes I just
almost
stare
more than a
because it's so
facelift.
beautiful.
It was like an entirely new body. I mean,
yeah,
it was like a complete transplant. Yeah.
Yep. Better. Well said. Here we have our 2021-2022 board members.
And if anybody has any feedback, Carrie Sudi is in the audience tonight and will happily field your calls as soon as she finishes dinner.
Absolutely, totally.
And she is the best and so fast to respond to anything and everything. Greatly appreciate it. And then this slide has a lot of words on it, but rightly so, because there's so much going on and it's really amazing. So these are all of the Agile Austin meetups that happen every single month. It's pretty incredible the amount of work that all the SIG leaders do. Aaron being one of those SIG leaders, just doing so much lifting in the background to make this kind of thing happen. And then you all, of course, joining every month, make it that much better and make it worth doing all the work that the SIG leaders do. So definitely check out some other meetups whenever you can. It's really great stuff. And then this is us, me and Aaron. We've been doing this for, gosh, almost 4 years
Many
now.
moons now.
Yeah, started off in the U-ship building, and then COVID happened, and so now we're doing the remote thing. But just as we were talking about, lots of pros have come from that, and now we get to interact with people from all over the world. So thank you again for attending and making this an awesome experience, even though it's different than what it used to be. But yeah, what we do is we focus on Agile coaching competencies outlined within the Agile coaching competency framework, mentoring, teaching, facilitating, and our goal is to build Agile community and help Agilists improve their coaching skills. Yeah, Sherry, 4 years. Okay, I'm going to pass it to Erin so she can talk a little bit about our upcoming events.
So this is how I know that January 2022 is on the horizon, because I had to go rope down our speaker and ask for a bio and a headshot. Next month, however, in November, we are having Caitlin Walker come, and she is one of the foremost experts on clean language. So I don't know about you all, but I'm very much looking forward to this particular session next month. Please note that as Caitlin is over in the UK, we will be making this a lunchtime meetup for November, and actually probably December, because Ian's also from the UK. Also note, Caitlin has asked, there's a lot of pre-work ahead of this session, so make certain you go to the meetup, read what's actually happening there and go through it. There's some reading. She's got a TED talk to watch and the like, just so you're prepared. Getting Caitlin to come was a really big deal, one that I was really proud to be able to make happen. So let's show her our best. In December, Ian Wallace will be here. He's also in the UK. Ian does a lot of work around psychology and metaphor and the like. And I met him when I spoke earlier this spring for a Scotland meetup. Ian is actually the CTO of the Letha Group, and they're doing a lot of really interesting work with bots and the like. But Ian, really good stuff on what he's built over there. And in January, Renee Poulin will be here, and she's going to be talking about navigating a career change with agility. So Renee actually has a PhD in Italian, speaks multiple languages, but she's an Agile coach out of Kansas City now. Lovely woman to speak with, and lots of different perspectives there and the like. But the headline event tonight is Damon Poole. and he is already here with us. And so many people, Damon, I don't know that you knew this, started reaching out to me on LinkedIn. Nadia was one saying that she was taking your ACC course and really wanted to make tonight because she was so enjoying that work that you were doing there. But Damon Poole is an enterprise coach, and he has trained and coached, the masses at this point, so many people. He's the co-author of Professional Coaching for Agilists, and he offers lots of different courses on Agile coaching and professional coaching. So with that, Damon, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let you take it away.
All right, thanks so much. The only thing I have added to my biology, my biography lately is I'm now an independent video game developer as well. So that's what I do in my spare time. No more watching Netflix. Couldn't take it anymore. So that's what I do. All right. So this is about everyone can offer coaching. So whether you're an Agile coach or you're a Scrum master, you're a project manager, you're a developer, you're a QA person, doesn't matter. Everyone can offer coaching. Now we're going to focus on just a particular section of coaching, not all of coaching, but I think we're also going to show that most of coaching is maybe not what you think of when you think of coaching. So that might be a little bit of a surprise. So let's look at this idea of the role of Agile coach. One of the things that I find is very often the term coaching and Agile coach become synonymous, but actually they're not, right? And we just talked about the Lisa Adkins, ACI, coaching, mentoring, facilitating, teaching, right? So if we look at that, one of those is actually coaching. All of them together are the role of Agile coach. So I have a slightly different way to look at this from the perspective of tonight's presentation. Nothing wrong with the ACI way of looking at it at all. Not saying that. So let's see here. So I'm going to break it down into three things. Everyday interactions, which is where we're going to focus tonight. Coaching expertise, specific stuff you need to know to be a coach, and then domain expertise. The product owner keeps pushing stories into the next sprint, or putting too much work into the sprint, or we're having trouble splitting stories or whatever. That's all domain expertise, Agile expertise. How does SAFe work? What is weighted shortest job first? Right? And that's all great stuff. And it's something that an Agile coach needs to be able to provide, but it's in the area of domain expertise. You could think of it as teaching or mentoring, something like that. The everyday interactions, as I said, is where we're going to focus. So if we take out domain expertise, what does that really leave us? Well, a good place to start thinking about is what can we do in everyday interactions? What are all the sorts of things that we can do in interactions with people we've just met? So imagine you're sitting at a table or you're on Zoom and you've just met somebody. They're not your boss. You're not their boss. And there's no authority. Neither of you have any authority of any kind over each other, not technical authority, nothing, right? So you could think of yourself as peers or colleagues or what have you. So just think for a moment, what is it okay to do in those circumstances? Anything like that, we're going to consider everyday interactions. Think about that for a second. You can say hi. How are you? Somebody mentioned something. Oh, tell me more about that. Right? But there's some things we wouldn't expect. So, I'd like to get together an agreement as to how we're going to interact. That's not going to be something we're going to do with a person in a regular everyday conversation. So let's remove that temporarily. All right. So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. Of course, as a coach, we're going to do those things. But just to separate between what we would do in our full capacity as a coach and what we might do in everyday interactions. So we'll take coaching agreements off the list. Sharing observations. You just met somebody. I noticed that when you talked about this person, your tone changed. Not expected with somebody you've just met. For all of these, asking powerful questions. What's the next step? When might you do that? I'm wondering what you might need to do to make sure that happens. Are there any obstacles that might come up? Anything like that. not something we would do with a person we just met. And finally, even supporting and encouraging learning and growth. How might you improve in that area? Not something that we would do in an everyday conversation with somebody we just met. All coaching things if we have a coaching agreement. Okay, so we're going to take all of the Agile expertise off the table and all of these coaching specific things off the table. What does that leave? Good question. Well, first of all, we get stuck, right? I want you to imagine all the times you've been stuck in your life, whether it was work related, Agile related or not. It was in your personal life, something that you're struggling with at home or in your spare time, and you're just, oh, I need to go talk to somebody. I just really need to think this through with somebody. And think, what are the qualities of that person? What qualities are you looking for? And which ones do you avoid? So we're going to stop here for a moment in our investigation of what we can do in our everyday interactions that's coaching related to take a look at these things. And then I'm going to wrap it all together before we move on to the next thing. So let me just pause this. And I'm going to share a mural with you. You do not have to be logged in. You don't have to create an account. So if it looks like you need to do anything like that when you click on the link, just ignore it. You should be able to click on visitor and then go right to the mural. So it'll show up in the chat. Here it is. So go ahead and click there. Now I know some people are not going to want to go to mural and type things into stickies and all that kind of stuff, and that's okay. So I am going to share my screen so you can see what people are doing. All right. So I want you to think, when you're stuck, work, personal, any aspect of your life, you just want to reach out to another person and get their help. What would you hope for from that person? What qualities would you hope for? So a person who listens, what else? On the other hand, what qualities are you like, oh, I just don't need that. I hope this person, when I reach out to them, they don't do these things. And you'll notice I've got a whole bunch of icons here that you can use. So if you want to heart something, go ahead and do that. If you want to thumbs up something, go ahead and do that. If you want to say that this thing is on fire, you could do that too. All right, so what do we got here? And the things on the left are things you want to look for, things on the right to avoid. So I notice kindness is on the right. Maybe somebody wants to avoid kindness. I don't know. But so you want to avoid people that think they know best, where there's negativity, judgment, apathy, whatever. Someone who discourages. Things we're hoping for, people that have similar experiences, curiosity, expertise, good questions. They're kind, they're respectful, they're not judging, they're curious, and they have good suggestions. What else? Think about a person you reached out to recently. How would you describe them? What are their qualities? Think about a person that you went to maybe for advice or some help or as a sounding board. What was it that just didn't work out? You're like, oh man, I can't believe they did that. All right, so some of the things on the avoid, we have making it about them. Rushed. They say, you think that's bad? Wait till I tell you what happened to me. All right, so we could call that making it about them. Scolding. Wow, you know what? Deflects. Look at this list of things. It's huge. There's so many ways this can go wrong. And on the left, in addition, we have wise. What else could add it? Patient. All kinds of things. Empathetic. Asking questions that would make me self-reflect. Self-reflect. Oh, I just saw malignant narcissism. Ouch. Oh no. Yeah, I don't want to go to that person for advice. I think I have gone to that person for advice. A know-it-all, blames, keep asking me questions that I already know the answer to. Yeah. Okay, let's pause there for a moment. I've read them out, but go ahead and look around and see what you see. All right. Just keep these in mind for a moment. We're going to continue on. Thanks for your participation. This was really great. And oh, the most hearts are on listens. Apparently that's difficult. Who knew? All right, so let's go back. Well, that was really quick recording things there. So I like to divide these two things into supportive behaviors and diminishing behaviors. And I've picked some in particular to focus on. I'm not saying that if it doesn't appear on this list, there's anything wrong with it. It's a great list, what you guys came up with. But there are things like rapport building, presence, focusing on the other person, letting the other person do most of the talking, leaving choices to the other person. So they mentioned three things. Oh, so what's on my mind? Well, the Scrum Master, this manager, and the way our stand-ups went. And then we might ask, oh, tell me more about that manager. But then we just actually made a choice. They mentioned three things. So we might want to ask something more like, what would you like to focus on? So that it's not us making the choice, it's them. That's a supported behavior. Others, and I'm sure, I mean, these are not necessarily new, but emotional intelligence, pausing, and resisting thinking out loud. It's really hard to resist thinking out loud because if, as an expert, we're judged on how fast we respond, and we don't have anything, we might be tempted to think out loud. But resisting it is actually supportive behavior because we're not taking up space while the other person could be continuing to think. So if we look at these supportive behaviors, and then we also consider diminishing behaviors, right? Here's a long list. I'll just let you read through them for a moment. And I think most of these got hit in the mural. Maybe some didn't, or maybe they were worded differently, but they're very familiar. Think of how hard it is to avoid some of these things. All right. So now I'm going to wrap this all together. If we look at where we currently are as a person in general at doing well on the supportive behaviors, and we look at where we are in general as a person at those diminishing behaviors, the very simplest way to get better at coaching, regardless of your role, whether you're a manager, developer, an agile coach, a scrum master, anything, is think about all those things that were listed, and you'll have a copy of the slides as well for reference. Or you can make a copy of the mural, right? I'm not going to delete that link. Any area of supportive behaviors where you feel like I could be a little bit better at that will automatically make you better as a coach. Your questions will be more powerful. All of your interactions will be more powerful. Your results will be more powerful. And anything on the diminishing behaviors that you can reduce will likewise make you an even better coach. Right, so between those two things, better at supportive, removing the diminishing, that automatically will make you better as a coach. So while that leaves coaching expertise, which are those things I mentioned earlier, coaching agreements, powerful questions, those are all great. I would say that was a pretty short list we looked at. Supportive behaviors, diminishing behaviors, increasing them, decreasing them. I would say that is most of what great coaching is. Right? So for sure, let's get better, powerful questions, but let's work on these things too. And of course, there's domain expertise, but that's not really coaching. That's within the role of Agile coach, but that's more expertise, teaching, mentoring, that sort of thing. So actually, before we continue on, we're going to do this exercise, but before we continue on, I just want to pause here for a moment. Now, if there's a question that's kind of like really big and gnarly and hard to answer, we'll leave that for later. But I wonder if you have any small questions or something you'd like to follow up on that I said, something you'd like to push back on, which is perfectly fine, an observation you'd like to share. I'm just really curious, what's on your mind right now after what we've talked about so far? Aaron, I see you came off mute there. Did you have a thought?
I really want to know where this photo is so I can go there. It's beautiful.
You know, I have no
Is that
idea.
a diminishing behavior that I'm so easily distracted?
No, that's fine. I have no idea. I was just looking for something as a backdrop for this next activity that was very restful, and I'm glad to hear that you liked it. Okay, I wonder if anybody else has a thought or a question, something they'd like to clarify, or just anything that's on your mind. I know you're all thinking
So
something.
Nick from San Diego, he has a question over in the chat, and I'm scrolling down all the way to the bottom quite quickly. It says, how do individual contributors help to coach those who they look to for coaching? Who are missing those supportive attributes?
Okay, that was a lot to take in. Let me see if I can. Was that in the bottom of the chat?
It was at the very bottom of the chat. How do
Oh, I
individual
see.
contributors help to coach those who they look to for coaching? So Nick, just to clarify, is that asking how, I can help coach a coach? Is that the example you're asking there?
A paradox of a question. Yes. How do individual contributors support those that they're looking to for mentorship and coaching when they don't feel like the balance of supportive versus disengaging attributes are there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that I necessarily have a quick answer to that. I can tell you what comes to mind though. So if we're in a coaching arrangement, we're the coachee and we have a coach. Hopefully, part of that was that we put an agreement together, and part of that agreement is we can share feedback with each other. If that's not in place, that might be a great place to sort of go back to and say, hey, I was just thinking, we've been interacting for a while, and you're the coach and I'm the coachee, and I was wondering if we could maybe discuss, what is our agreement for how we're going to interact, and if the person pushes back on that, I think we know what to do next, if we can. Thanks for the question. All right, any other thoughts or questions? We don't always get to choose who our coach is, unfortunately, but that's a whole other topic. Yeah, Brittany.
I think I love that there are so many hearts on listens, but it's funny to apply that to the day-to-day, because while it gets so much reaction from everybody in this group, it's just funny in the day-to-day, it doesn't seem that is a priority for most folks in interactions with people, whether it's just in team meetings or one-on-ones or whatever it is. Listening seems so hard for folks for various reasons. And again, I love that it is something that caught everyone's attention, but yeah, it just seems like a really hard skill to nail and keep top of mind.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I just want to highlight something that you said, that it may not be a priority for people. I'm going to qualify it a little bit. I think it's a priority for everybody, for others, but we happen to be good, hopefully, at making that bi-directional, right? We all want to be listened to, but we don't necessarily, it's harder to go in the other direction,
Yeah, well said.
Definitely true. Okay, well, thanks for that. And so we're going to do this activity, and I want you to be comfortable to share whatever you end up sharing. So we're going to set up breakouts. We're going to put you in groups of about 4 to 5. All right. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you to do something ahead of time. And I don't want you to put any constraints on it until you get into the breakout room. When you get into the breakout room, you can share whatever you want. Well, that's safe for work, please. right, within that constraint, that you feel comfortable sharing. And please, let's not, encourage people like, okay, now that I've shared that, everybody should be comfortable sharing whatever. We're not going to encourage people to share whatever they're willing to share. We're going to accept that as being enough. And if all you want to share is, yep, I've absolutely got something on my mind and I just want to leave it there. Okay, then that can be, we'll call that enough. If you want to qualify it a little bit and say, I have something on my mind that's work related. I have something on my mind that's of a personal nature. I have something on my mind that's in my spare time. And you want to leave it at that. That's going to be okay. Let's give everybody a chance to share a little bit of something, though. Let's not take up the whole space. So let's have a good happy medium in there. Okay. So now for this first part, I don't want you to put any constraints on your thinking. What you end up sharing from this, that's up to you. So I want you to stare at this picture that Aaron loves, which is from who knows where, or you can turn off your video, you can stare into space, go to your happy place. I'm going to give you a couple minutes of just silence to think about what is on your mind. Watch what thoughts bubble up. What is it that's really on your mind? Maybe it's a near-term challenge. Whatever it is, if it's something you've already figured out, and let's let that go. Unless it keeps coming back, maybe there's something about it you haven't figured out. So just be at peace with your thoughts for a moment. See what's coming up. See what's on your mind. It does not have to be Agile. It does not have to be work related. It could be personal. Just let everything go and see what keeps popping up. So I'm going to give you a couple moments to just think about whatever that is. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I saw a question in the chat. We're going to save it till after this exercise. Somebody please keep me honest on that, by the way. So whatever was popping up in your thoughts just now, I want you to bring that with you into the breakout and share whatever piece of it you're willing to share, but no more than that. It can be as simple as, yep, I thought of something. That's going to be fine. All right, so here we go.
All right, so I've got the breakout rooms ready. And Damon, when you're ready, I can go ahead and open them.
All right, so we're going to spend, see, how much time do we have remaining total?
30, 40 minutes.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to spend 10 minutes just sharing out some piece of that. If as a group you've finished and you want to come back, you can just hit the blue leave button. All right, so we'll spend 10 minutes and then come back. Let's do it.
All right, everyone, 10 minutes, and we'll give you a warning about 2 minutes before it ends. So Damon, just so you know, I've got about 4 breakout rooms ready. And I'm wondering if you might be willing, we could demo, so we don't have a weird lull in our recording.
Oh,
if we
okay.
could demo what we're doing right here. What they're doing in the breakout rooms, we could do it right here.
All right. Well, since I opened this up, I guess I'll lead off. So, this is pretty difficult. So I have something coming up in a personal relationship that is really distracting me. And I don't want to go into detail, but just let you know that I have something in a personal relationship that's really distracting me right now. And I'm trying to just leave it on the side. And sometimes I'm having more success about it than at other times. So That's what I have to share today.
Okay. Brittany, are you ready, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first. I was just thinking through what I wanted to share.
Yeah, as we're like, and we're not recording. I'm actually really struggling with allergies at the moment. Ragweed is just awful here in Austin, and it makes my throat scratchy and my head hurts and my eyes. They're terrible, and it makes me feel like I'm fighting myself when I'm really trying to focus on others. So it makes it really hard for me to coach right now.
All right, thanks for that.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, Aaron.
You ever
Let's
see
see.
someone pour NyQuil in their eye trying to like, no.
I mean, that's not funny, but you, you kind of made it funny.
Not funny, but funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. For me, I have a lot going on at work and a lot going on in my personal life. And so every day just feels like such a heavy lift. And I try to do all the things that I try to help all the people on my team with their day-to-day when they're in a similar situation, but for some reason just feels like every day is a new heavy lift, regardless of trying to focus on one thing at a time or create space structured on particular priorities or whatever it may be. It's just every day feels so much. But yeah, that's me.
Okay, I don't know if Sam C and Jeff are here or not. If they wanted to share as well.
Gentlemen, if you are, feel free to come on video and off mute. And if you're not,
That's okay too.
I mean, you want to, oh,
Well, there we go.
got
Hey,
Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Okay.
Sorry, I was cooking dinner as well. I'm calling in from Midtown Manhattan,
Oh, cool.
so it's an hour later here. So certainly for us here, I don't know if this is as true, for the rest of the country or not, but for folks here, and myself absolutely included, it feels like we're sort of facing really important decisions that we need to make in our personal lives and in our companies and our organizations, and it always feels like we're missing the ability to what feels like adequately predict what's going to happen next, and then certainly what's going to happen after that. So it feels like we don't have enough information to make really consequential decisions, and that's that's a weird sort of stress. It is that the change is happening quickly. It is that it's consequential change, but it's very stressful. I was working with people at the city of New York who said, well, are we going to make every single person who's doing something with the school system, with 1.1 million kids, the largest school system in the entire United States, have to show proof of vaccination in order to work here? And they decided no, and then get tested, and then they decided yes, and then it went to the Supreme Court, and then it came back, and then the unions opposed it, and then people said they were going to quit, and it's like, wow, this is hard. And now, so they did it, and today's the first day, and you know what the question is? What about the police?
Can I hold you there for a moment?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering what you can share, to the extent that you're comfortable, that's sort of for you personally coming up on a regular basis?
Sure. So for me personally, should we stay in New York or should we move out?
Whoa.
For starters.
Okay, well, that's pretty big. Well, thanks for sharing. We've got people coming back, so I want to
I'm
hold us
sorry.
there.
All good.
No, it's okay. No, that's fine. Just we have people coming back here into our sort of private space. Well, we made it to a private space, so we just want to just hold it there. So thanks, everybody. All right, so it looks like people are starting to come back. They finished in their session. How many minutes have we got left on that 10 minutes?
We've got about 3 minutes left. Do you want me to message the breakout rooms and say, hey?
Yeah, let's do that. Thanks so much. Should I stay or should I go now? You started it out. You started it out on that, Aaron.
I'm always curious what it's like to watch one of these recordings all the way through when you're seeing me here frantically typing in the background to all the breakout rooms and you're trying to fill. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, so they're coming back soon is what it looks like. We got 1 minute.
Yep, I closed it in 1 minute.
Hey, Gregory, just completely unrelated. I'm kind of curious. What is that? It makes me think of either Pente or Go. What is that?
You're on mute.
You're not on Zoom mute, but we can't hear you.
Is that any better?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it was my mic volume. Zoom does weird things with my mic phone. That is from the Game of Life, the simulation.
Oh.
So it's an icon that Eric Grayman selected for hacker culture.
Nice. All right, so welcome back, everybody. I know we did have a couple of questions in chat, and we'll get to that. But so I wanted to ask you a question. And well, it's actually anything that's on your mind is great. But a couple things to maybe think about is what did you get from that? You know, not the details of what was talked about for sure. But what was your reflection or insight from that activity? To the degree that you shared whatever you shared, what do you suppose is the reason that you felt comfortable sharing whatever it was that you shared? And another, so these are different areas you could comment on either verbally or in the chat. Finally, what do you see as the connection between what I just had you do there and our work environments, the teams we work with, you know, what have we? Nick, you have your hand up. What's on your mind?
Well, I don't know about the second part, but the first part I will talk about. I think we talked about an abstraction, a couple of layers that relates to this. And for me, it was, I guess the higher level question is there a point where an organization is not coachable? Or what threshold does one place upon an organization where the effort begins to exceed the potential value? And then just in terms of peers, like pulling that into this space, you know, finding those opportunities. But is there a threshold, a dotted line where that's not worth it? And
I'm wondering if anybody has a simpler question, maybe, perhaps. No, I'm just kidding. Wow, that was a tough question. Wow, that's a tough question. All right. Well, here's my thought for what it's worth. I think it really depends on what you mean by coaching, right? So one of the ideas I wanted to bring here is that it doesn't have to be about powerful questions. It doesn't have to be about coaching agreements, right? If we pull those things out, it still leaves a whole bunch of stuff that we can work on, right? So whatever capacity we're in, if somebody's brought us in as an Agile coach and they really mean the Agile fix-it-all, we can still practice all of these things and have a better effect than we might otherwise. As far as coachable, I mean, I think we can only ever help people with things that they want help with. And in most organizations, there's some part of the organization or some people involved that would like our help. Now that said, I don't know about any of you, but I've personally fired myself from multiple engagements. I'm like, I got nothing more. I don't feel like I'm going to be providing value here. It's, you know, I want to go somewhere else where I can provide more value. So that's kind of my thoughts. Okay, Jeff, what's on your mind? Oh, let's see.
There, we got it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So one of the things that I shared is the pressure that folks are feeling professionally and in businesses and organizations, as well as personally, to somehow make decisions that seem very important, where it's difficult to sort of make a decision to try something small and fail and cheaply as quickly as possible, because the magnitude of the question and the issues in front of us are large, and so the need to make decisions that are stressful with inadequate information.
Okay, and if I could just ask a follow-on there. So in that sharing, what we shared with you in our breakout, what is it that you suppose made it possible for us to share what we shared?
You mean that enabled us to sort of share these things with each other? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think a couple of things, certainly. One is that it's just kind of open for listening and taking it in and accepting it. So there's no pressure to come up with some version of it that is somehow defendable. You know, it is what it is, and we may be able to figure out something to do about it at some point, or not, but it is what it is. And so tell the truth and shame the devil.
Okay. All right, Hansel.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, following up with what Jeff said, we tend to have some discussions like that, and they're very interesting. But something that I think we all can share is that it was really easy to share between the group, and I think it was because we share one thing in common. That is the pandemic, right? That we're living in this, and I think that when you share something with someone else, it's easier for you to trust that person. So I think that was interesting. I never saw it that way, and yeah, that's what
Okay, thanks. All right, so we have a couple of things that are behind the why we were comfortable sharing what we shared. One, the absence of pressure. Two, the fact that we had some common experience. And the other thing I'm looking for as well, and share whatever you'd like to, is how might we apply the experience we just had at work, but anything that you have on your mind. Christina.
Yeah, so that was a really, I liked the exercise. I called it an exercise, but what I like about it is just in terms of the approach about just supporting each other, and it's about sharing stories with each other, and that's how you kind of build community. So I think it was easy for us to share because we kind of have come to this space with the same kind of goal of making connections and coaching. So for me, it seems very kind of organic and natural, and which is what I think, David, I'm not going to speak for you, what you're talking about in terms of everyday coaching, because I don't necessarily aspire to have a coach title in my job. I just want to have the tools to make my team feel, safe. That's literally all that I want, because I've worked in spaces that are not safe. So this kind of activity of just kind of sharing stories and finding connection, awesome. I think that's like the approach for like the everyday coaching that you're talking about.
Yeah, and actually, part of what I'm saying is we could even take the word coaching out, right? So we don't have to think of ourselves as a coach, right? Because we're not going to do anything that requires, in the stuff we're talking about, it doesn't really require being a coach to do some of these things. So one other connection I want to make is between all the things that we talked about and the experience we just had is, what would it take at work with a team that works together on a regular basis to have that same experience about anything that needs to be talked about in order to move forward as an organization or as a team?
Maybe they have to be invited. They have to be invited.
To be invited. So I invited you, right? And I didn't say you had to, right? So there was an invitation there. So the idea here is, let's think about what would it take for us to have that same environment, because, for us to move forward in our teams and organization, we need to be able to share pretty much anything that needs to be shared in order to move forward. And it was something we need to do to move forward, and we're not going to share that thing so other people know what it is. It's not going to happen. Now, notice I didn't say you must share. I'm saying in order for those things to be shared, we need to have an environment just like we just experienced, or even further along. This is our first time meeting. Okay. Something to think about. Clearly, it's not easy. And I want to thank you all for sharing. Okay, we're going to continue on. And thank you for adding in the part about invitation. That's also another way to think about it, is optional, choice, all kinds of different ways to think about that. All right, let's continue on. Oh, and by the way, I just want to apologize, Jeff. I think I inadvertently interrupted you at one point. My apologies. Okay, so we have heard about powerful questions. And I want to say powerful questions are beyond what we can do in an everyday conversation. However, everything you know about powerful questions, you can use in everyday conversations if you just take a few things out. If you take out that, kind of like, if your future self came to you, what would you say? That's not a kind of thing that you would say in a normal conversation. However, if you look at some of the characteristics of powerful questions, like, is the question I want to ask connected directly? Is it connected directly related to what the person just said? Is it something short? Is it on one topic? Is it clear? Is it open? Is it not closed and not leading? And I'm not thinking out loud? Then all your knowledge of powerful questions can be applied. We just won't go as far as like trying to evoke some big thought or inspire or anything like that, or push people outside their boundaries, because we don't have permission to do that in an everyday conversation. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do one more exercise, and we're going to go to different breakouts. Can we make about the same number but different? We're going to mix it all up. All right, so here's what I want you to do. First, as a group within, I'm imposing this agreement on you, so I'm sorry. But anyway, so to have this experience, we're going to agree within our groups that whoever's acting as the coach will have one person as coach, another person as coachee, but we just think of it as the person that is focusing on these things, and the person is just a regular person, right? But we'll use coach and coachee. As a coach, we can only share our opinion, advice, or expertise if explicitly asked for it. And if you're on the coach side, the coachee side, the coach is not going to do any of those unless you ask. So if you're looking for their expert opinion on something or opinion advice, you have to ask, but they just won't give it. So that'll be our agreement. I want you to pick one more thing to do. So you're gonna have a conversation on whatever you want, but as the coach, you're gonna do this, and you're gonna pick one thing from this list. So you might want to write it down or whatever. Something that you think, I might not be as good at that, or I think I can do even more. So being fully present or building rapport, look at these things and think, what do I want to practice in this conversation? Among all of the things I could do, what am I going to practice? So focus on only sharing your expertise if it's asked for, or your opinion, and one of these things. So I'll give you a moment to pick one. And I'm not saying practice interrupting, by the way. I'm saying, for instance, if you pick something on the avoid list, you're going to practice avoiding it. All right. So once you get in the breakout, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes total. You'll just have a conversation. If one pair gets worn out, you can switch to a different pair. We're not going to share observations or anything. We'll have a group debrief. So just have a regular conversation about whatever. And the coach, you're not going to be a full coach. You're just going to have a regular conversation where you don't share your opinion and you do one of these things as well. then we'll debrief. All right, so just everyday conversation, not really a coach. All right, let the breakouts begin.
All right, I have 4 rooms ready with about the same number again, so I'm going to open them all up.
All right, and I guess us out here, we'll pick a pair to start with.
Yeah, and I'm going to sneeze.
I'm sorry, you're gonna what?
Sneeze.
Oh dear.
I'm not going to now. It's okay.
Oh, I hate it when that happens. You're like, oh,
Oh,
that's not it.
yeah.
That's not it.
All right, did we want to demo it here in this main room though as well?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
Let's see. Sam, are you here? Lorna, are you here?
So,
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
great.
welcome.
Okay. So does anybody want to volunteer as being either the coach or coachee? Although it's not really going to be coaching.
Lorna, all eyes are on you.
Apparently so. Okay, coachee. I'll be the coach.
Okay. Anybody want to volunteer as the not really coach?
Sure, I'll be the not really coach.
All right. So you guys are just gonna have a regular conversation, and it's mostly about Lorna. And the agreement is that only if Lorna asks you for your opinion, advice, or expertise will you give it on whatever the topic is, and you'll withhold it unless you're asked explicitly. And Lorna, you know that she's only going to give it to you if you ask explicitly. And then what's the one thing that you're going to practice in addition, Brittany?
Asking
ahead.
questions based on what they said. Sorry.
Okay, awesome, fantastic. All right, so Aaron and I will just observe, and then
I'll come off. I'll be on mute.
So before I guess as the coachee, I'm supposed to tell her my problem or issue that I'm having. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me think of something because I didn't have anything at the top of my head.
Sure. Well, how about let's just start with how was your day? How was your Monday?
Oh, my Monday was hectic. Had a couple of things to do. Had to see the doctor. Had to have someone look at my car. Oh, what else? I had a lot of things I'm juggling for the week. So I'm trying to keep it in order in my head and on paper. So
Yeah, that sounds like a lot for a Monday. Was it all planned stuff with the doctor and the car and other stuff, or was there some surprises in there?
the doctor was planned. The car wasn't planned. I was in the vicinities of where I usually take my car. So I decided to stop by because it's squeaking. And I thought it would be a simple fix, but it turns out that it's not going to be a simple fix. I had to schedule time to bring it in this week. So that's where all of the additional nuances and stuff are coming together for the week, making it seem more hectic than I thought it would be.
Oh man, that
Mhm.
sounds like it. Have you had troubles with that car in the past?
Not really. It's very reliable. And
That's good.
yeah, so, and I'm planning on taking a quick trip to Houston on Friday. So I wanted to make sure it was in tip top shape because it's one of those, just a quick hit Houston, go to the doctor, turn around and come back home.
Oh yeah, want to make sure that it's ready to roll. Don't have to have any issues on the road.
Exactly.
Are you gonna do anything fun in Houston or just get in, get out?
No, it's get in and get out. Yeah, I have to. My sister had a surgery, and she has to go back to see the doctor at the end of the week. So I am sort of helping her through her recovery. So I was going to take her back. Yeah, so that's why it's going to be in and out, just to have him do whatever he needs to do and get back home.
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does sound like a lot.
Sorry to interject for a second. Are we recording right now? I just want to.
It says
make sure everybody.
It says we are.
Oh,
We
okay.
are
All right. So
recording.
you knew that. All right.
Yeah, I see recording on there. Yeah.
Okay. And I just also want to wonder if there's anything that came up that you'd sort of like to talk about, some issue you'd like to resolve that you can have as a topic, and then Brittany will do her
Yeah.
thing.
For you're talking to me though, Damon, right?
Yep.
Yeah, issue.
Did anything come up that you'd like to talk about and have Brittany work through with you?
Let's see.
Or if not, we can switch. We can
Yeah.
get another pair.
Yeah, sure. Because it's just juggling. It's just trying to juggle all the things I have going on for the week. So I really don't have any issues, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who does have something they'd like to work through?
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Okay, no worries.
David,
No
I
worries.
think you and I are the only other pair in this room.
Oh, all right. Well, which would you like to be?
You know, I'm always the coach, so I'll be the coachee.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks. So, what is on the top of your mind these days?
Yes, you know, let's go back to that topic that I originally brought up, you know, just because of allergies and the like. You know, my own body is just, you know, so scratchy and miserable, it makes it difficult to focus and really give myself to the person I'm generally coaching, and hard.
Well, what might you do differently?
Other than swim in Benadryl or something, which is what I feel like I should try. What could I do differently? I guess I could actually go get allergy shots, although I kind of feel like I missed that boat this year. I could double down and really practice even harder about listening and really focusing on the other. Yeah, those are the two things that come to mind. And I'm wondering if I missed something somewhere, if there's like an avenue that I'm not seeing. Any ideas?
Oh, well, I should let you know that I'm like the king of allergies. You name it, I've got it. So I've definitely had a lot of experience with it. But so what is it that you're doing for allergies right now?
Up it out. Maybe some Zyrtec on the days that I'm like, well, seems really bad today. I've threatened to napalm all the ragweed in the world. That doesn't seem to be helping though.
All right. Well, I can share a couple of things. I can share a couple of things that I've tried in the past. And maybe one of them would be interesting. I mean, there is the shots. I got shots as a kid, and it was a long process, but it really did help.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the neck, but it definitely helped. The other thing that helped was there are so many different allergy medicines. So just rotating through to see which one.
Okay.
Yep. See which one. I recommend Claritin, but that's mostly because that's the one that when I rotated through, it worked the best for me. There's, you know, like extra super supreme congestion allergy eye drops you can take, right? And sometimes just getting rid of the irritants can be helpful. And then lastly, I sleep with a air purifier that, you know, it's like HEPA, whatever the term is, certified something or other. And it removes a lot of that stuff. So I sleep better at night. So those are some of the things that I've tried.
I hadn't thought about that. I keep thinking that we're like we've got to be almost to the end of ragweed. It's got to be almost dead. And it's just a slog. And it feels, I'm not used to fighting myself to be present, I guess. And that's really hard.
Well, I think we're at time. Maybe we should bring people
close
back.
all the room.
Yeah.
Close the rooms. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
All right. I got to tell you that, by the way, for reference, that was so hard to resist, like just bursting out, like try Claritin or, you know, whatever before you asked. And I was like, okay, let's focus on what she's saying. Yes, you had early childhood trauma on it, but let's just like push that to the side.
Yeah, I've done the shots in the past. And the thing is, I mean, I don't mind the shots and they do help, but it's that you have to go every week. and get them. I'm like, you find, and they want you to go up there and then you're supposed to wait 15 minutes and you're like,
That's the loudest
a
I
lot.
have. But they were talking about their. Sorry, guys. Brittany, thanks a bunch.
Sure. Thanks, Lorna.
welcome back, everyone. We've got just a few more seconds and they'll close all together and then we'll turn it over to Damon.
Okay, it looks like everybody's back. Okay, so we're getting low on time, so let's go for short stuff. But I'm really curious, how did it go with the practicing the not sharing expertise unless explicitly asked, and whatever else that one thing was? What did you notice? What did you learn? What's an insight? What would you like to share with us?
I think that's a skill that we're going to have to practice because I'm not sure our team really kept to whatever we were doing. We just got into a discussion and just kept talking about that. So, I mean, it's not as I guess it's not as easy as it sounds, and it's got to be way more intentional than you probably should do at 7:30 Central on a Monday night. But that just,
yeah, that's true. You really had to be intentional about including everybody, right? The people that were not allowed to speak. And we had one person who couldn't talk because they weren't allowed place. So we had to do it via chat, and remember to bring them in.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to mention there, just going back for a moment, there was a question about how you might collaborate with a person who at times avoids or shuts down to even supportive behaviors. Well, I think that gets back to actually the earlier question about what do you do with somebody that's, not coachable. Whatever you can do, and then that's really it, right? One of the things as a coach is we're inviting, we're providing choice, and that's where our limit is. Unless we're the person's manager, right? As a coach, that's our limit. We can only do whatever they're comfortable with. Okay. So what were some of the other thing I want to say based on something that somebody just said was you can do this exercise all as much as you want. It's a great way to practice. Just pick a few things, get some folks together and practice just those isolated things, and it will make you better as a coach. Okay, what were some of the other insights that came up? Or what was it that you practiced and how did it go?
I find it hard to coach without an agreement.
Let's go with Chase.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Chase.
I find it hard to coach without an agreement. Because other than that, I'm just your friend, right? That's just curious, just listening, right?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up because I do want to distinguish here. We're not saying being a coach in this case. We're doing all the stuff that coaches need that doesn't require a coaching agreement, right? And it's a huge list, right? So if we needed a coaching agreement in order to say, would you mind if I listen to you? Right, we'd be in real trouble in life. So we'll take out all those things that require a coaching agreement, like making observations, looking for accountability, all those sort of things. And what's left, still needed by coaches, and we can do an everyday conversation. So that was kind of where I was going there, because I agree with you. Please don't coach without a coaching agreement. All right, we don't want to do that. Thanks for that. And I heard another voice there as well. Who was that? Nick?
Whoa, it's meet again. I think the one that always strikes me as the hardest is not blurting out the answer or what I perceive to be the answer, not to give the advice or unwelcome advice.
Claritin.
That was from our session. I was confessing how hard. Yeah, so I teach this stuff all the time, and one of the things I like to tell people is it's still just as hard for me as it is for anybody else, right? It never gets easier. All we do is we build up that muscle so that we can resist. But actually the need for resisting, I don't know that it ever goes away. I don't know that it ever goes
just
away.
want to add something really quick here, Nick, is that I do think that it gets easier if you have a team or you have a client that comes up with a better answer than you had. And if you experience that once or twice, where they come to conclusions themselves and it's life-changing for them and it's something that you could have never come up with on your own, then you will trust yourself a lot less than, than previous. That's been my experience, at least.
That's an interesting point. I think that gets to something that somebody else was asking about, which is it's useful for everybody that we coach to have that same experience. So they realize, oh, I shouldn't talk all the time. I shouldn't interrupt. I shouldn't discourage. I shouldn't do all of those diminishing behaviors. But until somebody has that experience, it can be hard for them to realize, you know what? It's great that you have these ideas, but they might not be the best ones. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, maybe one other thought, and then I think we need to close. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for indulging me in this, and I hope you got something out of it. I know I did. I really enjoyed all the engagement, the questions, the insights, the thoughts, and the sharing. It's just really wonderful to be, with birds of a feather. So thank you so much, and I hope at some point I get to shake your hand, maybe even give you a hug, and perhaps eat something in Austin together. That would be wonderful. So until next time.
You had us at taco trucks. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for coming. I am always grateful to see so many people come back time and time again. Please join us next month in November when Caitlin Walker, who is one of the foremost experts on clean language, she will be here to talk about clean language with her book, From Contempt to Curiosity. So don't forget, we will be actually having a lunchtime meetup in November to support her because she is over in the UK. And don't forget that there's also a little bit of homework associated with next month's meetup. But with that, everyone, thank you all, and we will see you next month. And don't forget to go buy your Keep Austin Agile tickets because 100% of the proceeds go to local charities. All right, so we'll see you all. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.